Hello and welcome to News Tonight on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor. Well, in the next half an hour, we will look at the day one of the US President Barack Obama's visit to India. Well, it began with a beer hug as Prime Minister Modi broke protocol and received Obama at the airport. And at the end of the day, at the joint press conference, came the announcement that the breakthrough really has been achieved as far as operationalization of civil nuclear deal is concerned. Well, we will evaluate day one in the next half an hour and much more. But first up, the headlines. President stresses on women's empowerment in his address to the nation ahead of Republic Day. Terms ordinance route to make law is the breach of trust for people. BJP veteran L.K. Advani, Punjab Chief Minister Badal and film actor Amitabh Bachchan among people to get Padma Vibhushan awards. Government announces list of more than 100 Padma Award winners. Key nuclear deal between India and US is done. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Barack Obama agreed to break nuclear deadlock. Prime Minister breaks protocol to receive US President at the airport for his 3-day visit. Obama witnesses grand ceremonial reception at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. And unprecedented security in place for the Republic Day parade tomorrow. 7-layer security ring with the bulletproof enclosure to protect Obama. Well, President Pranab Mukherjee addressed the nation on the eve of 66th Republic Day. The president once again underlined the importance of enacting laws without discussions. He said this breaches trust reposed by people and is not good for democracy. Pranab Mukherjee also spoke about the importance of legislature and said after 3 decades, people have voted a single party for a majority for having a stable government.
Every Indian must take a pledge to protect the honor of women from violence of any kind. Only a nation that respects and empowers its women can become a global power. The freedom inherent in democracy sometimes generates an unhappy byproduct when political discourse becomes a competition in hysteria that is abhorrent to our traditional ethos. The violence of the tongue cuts and wounds people's hearts. Religion, said Gandhiji, is a force for unity. We cannot make it a cause of conflict. Enacting laws without discussion impacts the lawmaking role of the parliament. It breaches the trust reposed in it by the people. This is neither good for democracy nor for the policies relating to those laws. Repeated violations of the ceasefire along the line of control and terrorist attacks must get an integrated response through incisive diplomacy and impregnable security mechanisms.
All right, and now let's cut across to the national capital where Pranab Mukherjee is hosting a dinner for the Obamas. All right, these are the visuals coming in live. As you can see, President Pranab Mukherjee there. He's hosting a dinner for the Obamas. In the visuals, you can see US President Barack Obama accompanied with the US First Lady Michelle Obama, shaking hand with the dignitaries there. All right, a bevy of political and corporate leaders there sharing the table in tonight's banquet, which is being hosted by President Pranab Mukherjee in honor of President Barack Obama at the Rashtrapati Bhavan there. All right, now let's take a look at the day one of US President Barack Obama's visit to India. Well, India and the US today broke the 7-year logjam in operationalizing their landmark civil nuclear agreement. The two sides reached a breakthrough on the issues holding up civil nuclear operation. US President Barack Obama and Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced this during a joint press conference today at the Hyderabad House. Now, sources said that Obama and Modi gave a final push on the deal today during their talks.
In a glow of bonhomie, US President Barack Obama and Prime Minister Narendra Modi worked on a series of bilateral agreements that both sides hope will establish an enduring strategic partnership. The final push to the key nuclear deal came on Sunday morning during the bilateral talks between Modi and Obama. The two leaders walked together in the lawns of Hyderabad House in Delhi, deep in talks ahead of the summit meet. Later, Obama told in a news conference that the United States and India reached a breakthrough on two issues holding up the civil nuclear cooperation between them.
Today we achieved a breakthrough understanding on two issues that were holding up our ability to advance our civil nuclear cooperation, and we're committed to moving towards full implementation. And this is an important step that shows how we can work together to elevate our relationship.
I am pleased that 6 years after we signed our bilateral agreement, we are moving towards commercial cooperation.
In what Obama called a breakthrough, the two sides have resolved key hurdles pertaining to the liability of suppliers of nuclear reactors in the event of an accident and the tracking of fuel supplied by the US and other countries for its proposed nuclear plants.
Based on 3 rounds of discussions in the contact group, we have reached an understanding on 2 outstanding issues, namely civil nuclear liability and the administrative arrangements for implementing our 123 agreement. Let me underline, we have reached an understanding. The deal is done.
Among other key agreements struck during the bilateral summit talks were in defense and anti-terrorism cooperation. Obama expressed his satisfaction in the talks to increase bilateral trade between the two countries. He also offered US support to India's demand for a permanent seat in the United Nations Security Council.
Terrorism remains a principal global threat. We agreed that we need a comprehensive global strategy and approach to combat with it. There should be no distinction between terrorist groups. Every country must fulfill its commitment to eliminate terrorists.
We support a reformed UN Security Council that includes India as a permanent member.
Ahead of his visit to India, Obama had put the onus on Pakistan to eliminate safe terror havens in the country as counter-terrorism measures.
Agreement on commercial implementation of Indo-US nuclear deal is the beginning of new era in Indo-US relationship. Though there are differences on many other issues, but mental and psychological roadblocks are over. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Sabha television in Delhi.
All right, joining me for a chat this evening is Mr. Sanjay Kapoor, who is the editor of Hard News. Thank you so much, Mr. Kapoor, for joining us here on Rajya Sabha TV. Mr. Kapoor, now a breakthrough really reached on the stalled civil nuclear agreement today. India and US agreeing on commercial cooperation. But how do you look at the developments and also what do you think was the reason really for the two leaders to have really moved past the two major issues that were the bone of contention as far as the civil nuclear deal is concerned?
You know, if you recall the speech of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he made it amply clear that the agreement that was signed between the previous government of UPA and the US is the cornerstone of the new compact or relationship between the two countries. And since then, the civilian nuclear deal had been running into all kinds of hurdles, primarily because of the nuclear liability and what kind of burden it should put on the supplier and what should happen. So clearly, you know, if they have said that there's been a breakthrough to sort out the problem, so that is one step forward compared to whatever it was earlier. But I'm sure there are too many things that haven't been understood, and agreements like this, you know, take a little while for people to absorb. We will know the exact implication of this agreement that has taken place, because when I first saw the conversation which was going on at the time when I started a few hours ago, and now that I'm finding a great amount of dissension building up in the strategic community about what we have given, how much we have given, and what we have lost. So although there is an impression to create this a win-win game, but clearly we haven't heard the last word on what is the nature of the deal. There are other aspects of the engagement that have taken place between India and US, and that is about anti-terror. For the first time, I think we have a greater, you can say, engagement on the issue of intelligence sharing. This is something that they can, something that has never happened before. The US intelligence agencies can actually pick up real-time data, and the same, thing is also available to India. What it will really contribute is to shape the nature of enemy for us, because the inputs that are coming in from the US is what will end up deciding, because they are a bigger power. And I am a bit uncomfortable with the idea that if they can decide to some extent on how do we perceive phenomena in our society about individuals, then there is a lot of things that will happen. So, we have to see exactly how it is all going to play out in the coming days. As soon as, the euphoria ends and we get to get down to reading the small print in the agreement, I think there'll be greater clarity as to what we have achieved. But having said that, Prime Minister has done rather well in taking this relationship to the next level. He is showed a great amount of energy and great amount of, you can say, creativity in communicating with President Obama.
Right.
So this is an interesting beginning that has happened, but our national interest is a different thing altogether.
Right, and you made a very interesting point there that even if we assume that this is a win-win situation for us and that all the differences as far as civil nuclear agreement is concerned have been ironed out, the key really would be the implementation part, because this is the governments you are talking, but we have to think about really what the US companies are going to do later.
Yeah, it is going to take some time. As I was listening to an expert a short while back, this entire process is going to unpack in a matter of about 5 to 10 years. It is not happening overnight, because primarily this is the private sector that owns the reactors, and they have to deal with it. So what really has happened that the government per se, both sides have cleared certain hurdles, and now the private sector actually has to get down to finalizing deals, and I'm not very sure what more would they be asking, but a facilitating environment has been created, good or bad, for the commercialization of the nuclear deal between India and the US. But that is only one aspect of it. There is also the other aspect about the framework or defense, which was signed earlier in 2005, which has been renewed. And I was listening to our ambassador to the US. They were saying that they have added more components to the framework for defense for the next 10 years.
Right.
We would like to be informed as to what all has been added. Because in my reckoning, the framework for defense between India and US was the most important treaty that has been, or the most significant agreement that was signed between the two countries in 2005. And the same thing has been, taken forward for the next 10 years. We would definitely become a major ally of the US in a certain way. So there is a certain amount of diffidence about how far you can go in taking this aspect forward.
Right. It's very interesting that you mentioned about the defense deals, Mr. Kapoor. But at the same time, back home, when we are talking about Made in India incentive that is being given the thrust by the Modi government, and we are talking about defense agreements here. But do you think this could be really possible? Because as far as infrastructure is concerned, still there is a lot more to do as far as Indian atmospherics is concerned.
I think Prime Minister Narendra Modi is rather committed to Make in India, and that he thinks promoting manufacturing in this country is going to create more enduring employment, which has been missing for quite a while. I mean, if you look at it, there's a large mass of people who don't have real jobs, and the real jobs come into manufacturing. But we are also competing for the same thing with the United States of America. I'm sure the slogan of Mr. Obama is Make in US. I was listening to the State of the Union address, and he was very categorical that in the last 6 years they've been able to create 5.5 million jobs, and they are looking for investments from other countries into their country to increase the number of jobs in their country. So it is a bit of a conflict which is going to come into play, and co-development and getting into partnership in the defense sector, if they are going to be produced in India, surely it create certain jobs. But these are all very tricky areas. I mean, there have to be certain other ways also in which we can get down to creating our own manufacturing base, and also about how we create enduring employment.
Right, of course. Thank you so much, Mr. Kapoor, for putting things in perspective for us as far as day one of President Obama's visit to India is concerned. Let's move on in the bulletin now. Well, the government today formally announced the Padma Awards. Nearly 104 people are being conferred the highest civilian awards in the three categories, namely Padma Vibhushan, Padma Bhushan and Padma Shri. Now, prominent among the names are those of L.K. Advani, Amitabh Bachchan, Prakash Singh Badal, who were given the Padma Vibhushan. 9 people are in the recipients of Padma Vibhushan. Now, 20 are for Padma Bhushan and 75 Padma Shri. And 17 of these awardees are women. The list also includes 17 persons from the category of foreigners, NRIs, PIOs. Now 4 are posthumous awardees. All right, we'll take a very short break here. Coming up ahead, President Barack Obama given a grand ceremonial welcome for his visit as chief guest on Republic Day. That and much more after a short break.
One of the most beautiful waterfalls in India, Chitrakoot Falls, situated in the Bastar district of Chhattisgarh. Mother Nature offers stunning sights as the waters of Indravati river flow down. At a height of about 29 meters, it is rightly acclaimed as the Niagara Falls of India.
Welcome back after the break. Now, US President Barack Obama arrived to a grand reception in Delhi this morning. Prime Minister Narendra Modi broke protocol to receive him at the airport when the US President arrived in his Air Force One. Now, laying out a red carpet, the Prime Minister greeted Obama with a hug. Later, he was given the ceremonial welcome at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Now, a 21-gun salute greeted Obama as he arrived at the Presidential Palace in his limousine, escorted by a scarlet uniformed cavalry down a red clay path. Apart from President Pranab Mukherjee and the Prime Minister, several senior cabinet ministers were also present. Obama also took the salute and inspected the Guard of Honor before greeting the delegates. The US President expressed his gratitude, saying that it was a great honor to receive extraordinary hospitality. President Obama went to Rajghat then after the ceremonial reception, where he paid tribute to Mahatma Gandhi. Obama evoked Martin Luther King's words on Gandhi to call his spirits as a rare gift to the world. And a woman officer, Wing Commander Pooja Thakur, led the ceremonial guard of honor for US President Barack Obama at the Rashtrapati Bhavan today as she walked him for the inspection of the guard of honor. Now, she is the first woman officer to lead a tri-services guard of honor. The gesture reflects the theme for this year's Republic Day parade, which is Nari Shakti or Woman Power. Now, for the first time, all women officer contingents of the Army, Air Force and Navy will walk down the Rajpath tomorrow. Reacting to the honor of leading the ceremonial guard of honor, Wing Commander Thakur said that she hoped that she would inspire more women to join the forces.
बहुत ही गर्व महसूस हुआ, एक प्राउड मोमेंट था इंडियन एयरफोर्स और मेरे लिए कि आई वाज कमांडिंग द इंटर सर्विसेज गार्ड ऑफ ऑनर फॉर मिस्टर बैरक ओबामा. मैं पहली महिला थी शायद जो एक इंटर सर्विस अंतर सर्विसेज सम्मान गार्ड को कमांड कर रही थी, लेकिन उससे पहले हम सब लोग एक ऑफिसर हैं, एक डिफेंस ऑफिसर हैं और हम सबको सेम ट्रेनिंग दी जाती है, चाहे हम एक लेडी ऑफिसर हैं चाहे मेल ऑफिसर हैं.
And Obama will be the first US president to attend the Republic Day parade as its chief guest. Obama will have a packed schedule on Monday. Apart from attending the parade with First Lady Michelle Obama, he will later attend at-home reception by President Pranab Mukherjee at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. In the evening, Obama will attend the India-US CEO meeting at the Hotel Taj Palace before heading to India-US Business Summit. Well, Delhi has turned into a fortress ahead of the Republic Day parade tomorrow. With Obama as the chief guest, security is strict in the national capital. Here is a look at the security arrangements in place for tomorrow.
The national capital has virtually turned into an unpenetrable fortress for the Republic Day parade on Monday. US President Barack Obama's presence as the chief guest has forced several unprecedented security measures. Over 1,000 NSG snipers along with 44,000 security personnel from Delhi police and paramilitary forces will be guarding the national capital. A 7-layer security ring will guard the enclosure that would be used by Obama, President Pranab Mukherjee and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The enclosure will be bulletproof as the US President will be in an open air sitting for over 1.5 hours, something unprecedented in his visit to a foreign country. The 80,000 strong Delhi police force, assisted by another 20,000 drawn from paramilitary forces and state armed police, will be on vigil to prevent any untoward incident. Spectators have to pass through a stringent multi-layer security check to be able to watch the parade. They will not be allowed to carry any electronic gadget to the venue. For the first time, AWACS may be deployed to maintain vigil from the skies during the parade. The AWACS will monitor airspace above and around Rajpath, where the parade will be witnessed by Obama. Specialized canine units of Indian paramilitary forces will be in service along with a team of 7 Belgian Malinois dogs of the US Navy SEALs, which are accompanying the security personnel of the United States. Security agencies have also sealed 71 buildings in close proximity of Rajpath. Security personnel have been deployed on rooftops. The 3-kilometer stretch of Rajpath, the main venue of the Republic Day parade, will be secured with a 7-layer security and will have over 160 CCTV cameras with one camera installed at every 18 meters. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And the Delhi Traffic Police has issued an advisory for the Republic Day parade tomorrow, with several key roads being closed for the public. The parade will start at 9:50 in the morning from Vijay Chowk and will proceed to the Red Fort ground, passing through Rajpath, India Gate, Tilak Marg, Bahadur Shah Zafar Marg and Netaji Subhash Marg. Now, no traffic will be allowed from Vijay Chowk to India Gate on Rajpath from 5 in the morning to 12:30 p.m. No cross traffic is being permitted on Rajpath from 9:30 a.m. at Rafi Marg, Janpath, Mansingh Road and C Hexagon. From 10 in the morning, traffic on Tilak Marg, Bahadur Shah Zafar Marg and Subhash Marg will also not be allowed in both directions. Now, 6 metro stations in the vicinity of Rajpath will be shut for a few hours. The stations to remain closed are Central Secretariat, Udyog Bhavan, Patel Chowk, Racecourse, Mandi House and Pragati Maidan.
26 तारीख को ये सुबह 5 बजे से ही राजपथ बंद हो जाएगा और बाकी पूरा जो इलाका है वो भी सैनिटाइज हो जाएगा. उसमें भी किसी भी तरह की गाड़ी जिसमें लेबल नहीं लगा है, जैसे मैंने एक्सप्लेन किया, बिना लेबल की गाड़ी को अलाउड नहीं होगा. एंड ड्यूरिंग द मूवमेंट ऑफ द वीआईपी the traffic will be stopped on those roads which would be used by the VIP.
And here is all the other national news and updates in Nationwide. Pakistani troops violated a ceasefire today along the international border in Jammu. Pak troops resorted to unprovoked firing hour before US President Barack Obama's arrival in India. Indian troops retaliated strongly to the firing, seen as a bid to infiltrate militants. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hit the campaign trail next week for the Delhi Assembly elections. He will address 4 public rallies in 4 districts, North, South, East and West. Modi is expected to address his first rally on 31st of January in Shahadra, while his second rally may be held on 1st of February in West Delhi. BJP has also asked all 7 party MPs from the capital to ensure a huge gathering at each rally of the Prime Minister. Dense fog continued to disrupt rail and air traffic in North India on Sunday. Several trains were reported to be running late. Around 72 trains were cancelled due to poor visibility. Amritsar, Jaipur and Varanasi Airport were also reported to witness heavy fog that disturbed major air traffic. On to some international news now. Well, Japan's Prime Minister today said that he was left speechless after an online video purportedly showing that one of the 2 Japanese hostages of Islamic State had been killed. Shinzo Abe admitted the video was likely authentic and called for immediate release of the second hostage. Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe on Sunday said the Islamic State video claiming the beheading of Haruna Yokawa, one of the 2 Japanese hostages, appeared to be genuine. The Japanese government had earlier said the latest appeared quite different in format from earlier Islamic State videos.
湯川春菜さんを殺害したとみられる 写真が配信されました。まさに痛恨の極みであります。残念ながら今の時点で我々この信憑性について分析をしていますが、信憑性高いと言わざるを得ない状況になっておりまして、ご家族のご心痛察するにあまりあり、言葉もございません。
Obama, who is on a 3-day visit to India, issued a statement condemning what he called a brutal murder and that the United States would stand shoulder to shoulder with Japan. In the latest Islamic video, a man claiming to be Goto says his cellmate is dead and pleads for his own life. However, Japanese Prime Minister declined to comment on the possibility of a prisoner exchange.
同断の許し難い暴挙であり、強い憤りを覚えます。断固非難します。また残る1名の日本人に危害を加えないよう、そして直ちに解放するよう強く。
Japan's Deputy Foreign Minister Yasuhide Nakayama is in Jordan to try to coordinate rescue efforts. Goto is a freelance journalist who went to cover the Syrian conflict. This is not the first time Japan has faced a hostage crisis from Islamic militants. In 2004, followers of Jordanian militant Abu Musab al-Zarqawi in Iraq beheaded a 24-year-old backpacker, Shosi Koda. A video by Zarqawi's group, which later became the Islamic State group, showed Koda begging to be saved. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And world leaders gathered in Saudi Arabia today to pay their last respects following the death of King Abdullah. British Prime Minister David Cameron and French President Francois Hollande were among those in the capital Riyadh to offer their condolences. The dignitaries from more than 10 countries met with the new ruler, King Salman, who has pledged continuity in the country's foreign and energy policies. King Abdullah died on Friday, weeks after being admitted to hospital with a lung infection. He came to the throne in 2005 but had already been Saudi Arabia's de facto leader for 10 years. A US delegation led by President Barack Obama will arrive in Riyadh on Tuesday.
The President, as articulated in his statement last night, expressed his deepest sympathies and condolences to the family of King Abdullah and to the people of Saudi Arabia. The President enjoyed a genuinely close and warm friendship with the late King.
And here is all the other international news and updates in Global Buzz. Edgar Lungu was declared winner of Zambia's presidential poll. Lungu secured a narrow win against his closest rival, Hichilema of United Party for National Development. Lungu won 48.3% of votes, while his rival got 46.7% of votes. British nurse Pauline Kafake was discharged from a hospital in London today after making a full recovery from Ebola. Kafake was diagnosed with Ebola after her return from Sierra Leone and was admitted in hospital on 30th of December. She was the first person to be diagnosed with Ebola on the British soil. Atlanta Airport in US faced bomb threats on Sunday, raising security alarm. Fighter jets were dispatched to escort 2 airplanes at the airport following the threat. The planes landed safely at the Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. However, no bombs were found aboard either flight. And on to sports now. Rafael Nadal and Maria Sharapova sailed into the quarterfinals of the men's and women's singles at the Australian Open today on the comeback trail after illness and injury. Third seed Nadal now finds himself in the last 8 after beating South African opponent Kevin Anderson with a 7-5, 6-1, 6-4 win in the 4th round. He took a little more than 2 hours to dispatch the 14th seed at the Rod Laver Arena. Meanwhile, women's second seed Maria Sharapova set up an exciting quarterfinal showdown with Eugene Bouchard following a comfortable 6-3, 6-0 4th round victory over China's Peng Shuai. Well, that's all in this edition of News Tonight. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Thank you.